Hi.
Oh, they were live, boys.
We are here, and this is time for the Stars pregame show. Sam is in the Big Apple. Luddy and I are here. We're both wearing black. I got the DLS shirt under here. Hard to see. Look at that, right? Oops, wrong side. There, little flag up on the crest. Let's get it started right now. It is a Tuesday night, and it is time for a big-time showdown on Broadway as the Stars and the New York Rangers will continue their rivalry. Second game of the season series. This is the DLLS Dallas Stars pregame show. We are live from our lounge studios. Sam is live from Madison Square Garden. Craig Ludwig, I'm Owen Newkirk. There he is, Commando Sam himself, Mr. New Jersey Transit. Sam, what's it like being back at MSG? I'm assuming this isn't your first trip to the big, the world's most famous arena.
No. I've been here plenty of times watching the Stars back when I was growing up here. Lots of time on the train. I had my own experience on the train, which we can talk about more maybe in the post game. But I made it. It was surreal being here. Very cool to see the Stars skating here. And obviously, this is already electric, and we still got 30 minutes before puck drop. So it's super cool to be here.
Hey, Sam, I want to know, did you take the elevator up or did you come up the ramp?
Elevator. The ramp would have taken me 3 years.
Okay, well, then you missed the aroma.
He didn't want the calf workout.
I've been up there before. Don't worry.
Oh, my God, it stinks coming up that back way.
Especially if the circus has just been in town.
Yeah, it's awful.
Sam, let's talk about lineup stuff real quick, because one of the big things today is defense. We haven't seen Brendan Smith play a game for a while. Healthy scratch for 7 in a row. But he's going to play tonight against his younger brother, Riley, at Madison Square Garden, where he used to play for the Rangers, and Matt Dumba comes out of the lineup.
Yeah, you could see it on Brendan Smith in morning skate. He had a ton of energy. He's usually staying on super late to get a lot of extra work in because, as you mentioned, he hasn't played since December 18th. So today he was one of the first guys off. He was ready in the room talking about playing against Riley, very excited. But more so just excited to get in the game. And I think Pete DeBoer said it best. He said, look, we got to get him in a game. And this isn't something that Matt Dumba did wrong. But as we talked about so many times, and specifically on the last couple of games with him benching guys in third period, Matt Dumba also didn't make it hard for him to sit him out, right? It was not. Matt Dumba's been okay since his return from injury, but he hasn't done anything special. He hasn't been solidified and moving up the lineup or anything like that. So for me, it was an easy call. If Brendan Smith was going to come in, that's who number 3 was going to come out. So we'll see Smith tonight. It should add a little bit more physicality to the lineup.
And then you were asking Pete DeBoer this morning, thanks for sending the audio, by the way, to us, about Mason Marchment, an update on his status.
Yeah, hadn't heard in a few days about him, so was just checking to see if anything had changed. And good thing we asked because he did have to have surgery, facial surgery. So we didn't get anything more specific. It was kind of a quick get to the bus kind of situation. But tomorrow they are scheduled to practice in Philly, and I'm planning on being there. So hopefully getting more information. He's still week to week, so nothing actually changed in terms of his return status. But he did have successful surgery, and he's not on the trip right now.
So we will find out more maybe at Flyer Skate Zone in Voorhees, New Jersey, the east side of the river from Philly. So you get a chance to cover the Stars practice from your home state, which will be a lot of fun. Put you on the spot here because we didn't prep this. Who are you looking for tonight from the Stars?
You know what? I'm going to go with Logan Stankoven. I had a really long talk with Logan, which we can get into more post-game or tomorrow or later on another show. But just talking about what he brings to the table outside of goals, right? Pete DeBoer talks about he still helps his team win, even when he's not producing offense and not scoring goals. Logan's really motivated to keep doing those things, and he understands that he's gotten robbed a few times, right? We've seen those big saves, blocks in the back of the knee. He understands he's getting those high-danger chances, and he looks like he is motivated to get going tonight. I pick him to get off the schneid tonight.
We got a tweet that said Hot Sam's Travels should be a new segment on the show. So Go at it. Go find those line rushes for us, and we will talk to you in the postgame show. Thanks, Sam.
All right, boys. Enjoy the game.
All right, let's talk about this lineup for a minute. Brendan Smith in. He hasn't played since, middle of December. And so 7 straight healthy scratches. I know that this is the job he signed up for, but it's not a role that he's accustomed to prior to this year with the Stars.
Yeah. I think that, those guys that are in those roles and at that age, they keep themselves ready to go. He's not out, not doing what he's supposed to do, and I'm sure he's doing a little bit extra, being ready to go. I'm in a way, I'm a little surprised. You should be saying, well, did you think Lundqvist was going to come out? But I am surprised that Dumba came out. And sometimes the reason that a player like Smith gets in is because he, like you mentioned, he played there for the last 5-6 years. So that makes sense for him to get in there and play against his brother.
Plus, he didn't get to against the Rangers when they were in Dallas.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm just surprised. I guess maybe because of new signing, the dollar amount, the starting the season with Miro, and being that guy up in that role. Has he fallen that far from grace in the coach's book that he's the easy go-to take out of the lineup guy?
I think it says something. You mentioned Nils Lundqvist, a real positive sign for Nils.
Oh, yeah.
That he's elevated his game to the point where he's moved ahead of Dumba. Now, part of that may just because of injury for Dumba. He's had 2 injuries already that's been, unfortunately for him, kept him out of the lineup. But Nils has not only gotten that opportunity, but he's seized it and played his best hockey to date with the Stars.
Nils was also part of this organization at one time too, so I think he wants to go full circle and show him where he's come from. Maybe that's part of it too. Getting the 2 guys that played for the team in the lineup, and maybe I'm just curious how the conversations go. But yeah, we talked about this, I think it was on the last show at the end. Nils doesn't deserve to come out of the lineup. If anything, he's climbing the ladder and doing everything that they've asked for, and maybe even more. It's just, I look at teams that go on the road. I look at hungry teams, and they're at home. They're gonna probably come out. I would think. They're not as bad as they've been. They're only like 5 points out of a playoff spot, which it's a long way to go.
But they've also cratered because they had a pretty good start to the year, and then they really went down.
Yeah, but I think they've already hit the bottom, and I think they can start. They won 2 of their last 3 games, and again.
Boy, that's shining it up, isn't it?
Yeah, but lipstick on a pig, and whatever you got to do. But again, they won 2 of their last 3. They're feeling a little bit better about themselves, and I just wonder the kind of push that you're going to get. Are they going to be that physical? I don't think Kreider's back in the lineup. I think they put him on the IR.
No, he's on IR now.
So I'm just wondering, should there be some more physicality from Dumba in the lineup for this particular game? But again, I understand it. I just wondered, with everything that happened and how it all went down and how it was promoted when we came in here, Lyubushkin, Dumba, we're going to add some more of this, bite in the game and things like that, and it hasn't happened.
Well, they do have, because Lyubushkin has been playing so well and moved up to play with Miro. Let's take a look at the defensive lines as we expect. We'll check in with Sam's reporting once we have it for sure. Actually, we do have it. And interesting, they've mixed it up a little bit tonight. So go ahead and show the D here. They're going to go with, according to Sam's warm-up lines, Harley and Heiskanen, Lindell Lundqvist, and Smith with Lyubushkin. What are your thoughts when you first hear that, knowing that they've been at home for a while, now they're going on the road, and they don't have the benefit of last change, so they don't get to dictate the matchups as much?
I think what you're doing by taking Lyubushkin, I think what you're saying is you trust Lyubushkin as much as you trust Miro or Essa, and you're going to put him next to a guy that hasn't played in, what has it been, 6-7 games now?
They also took a right shot defenseman out in Dumba, so they can't go 3 righties over there.
Right, and I just think it's more about, I think it says a lot about Lyubushkin. He's the guy, he's becoming the guy like Essa that, you're going to prop up whoever you're playing with. You do the right things, you make the right plays, there's physicality, to his game. I mean, I'm not a big thumper, but there's physicality to him. He jumps up in the play a little bit more than I ever thought he would. So I think it's a statement about Lyubushkin being able to throw him together, and then you've got Miro and Harley again, and we kind of know how that
and we've
rolls.
Talking about Harley being more offensive even than Miro. Miro's very, very good. He just doesn't play maybe with that little extra offensive inclination that Harley does. And you look at it and go, oh, Miro's the defensively responsible one. Not that
Yeah.
Harley can't play defense, but you can allow Harley to be more aggressive because you have Miro on that pairing.
That's exactly right. And I think that's why, just the opposite, when Miro plays with Essa, we see him go a little bit
And
more
he
because
has
he
to,
knows.
right.
Because he knows
Or
that
when he plays with Labushkin.
he picks exactly. And so Miro can play anywhere they want him to play. And I think he's the kind of guy that'll go say, okay, where do you want me to go? So, and again, I like the addition. I like Harley playing 24 minutes a night, I mean, up in that Miro neighborhood, because he's a guy that can make things happen offensively. It's funny. I was looking this morning. He's number one in offensive zone starts, is Harley is. And it's not by a little bit. It's by a lot. It's somewhere around 60%. So, it kind of says they know they're leading Trump when they get into the offensive zone on the back end.
Well, John, throw out the forward lines for the Stars, if you would, please. This is how they are going to line up, according to Sam, at the warm-up right now. Same group that we saw the other night. And I'm talking about this because, look, the top two lines really clicked on Saturday against Utah. They were good. Nothing against the bottom two lines. And in fact, I think Steele, Oscar Beck really played well, Stankoven, but Bork, Huru, and Blackwell, not necessarily poor performance, but we saw something that we hadn't seen from Pete DeBoer a lot in his entire tenure, which was he loaded up his top two lines and maybe a little bit with the third line with some adjustments in that third period of a tie game against Utah, and they ended up winning in overtime. And here's what Pete had to say post-game about changing, because he really does like to roll four lines.
It's not perfect. I mean, I think we've always we go into every game wanting to be a four-line team and play 60 minutes of four-line hockey. Some nights the game, the play, tonight I thought our big guys were going, and we got into the third period, so I loaded them up and we won. So that's the right decision. If we lost, you can ask me about that.
But it's an interesting idea. Thank you, Stewie, because that's not the identity that he has trumpeted out over and over and over with this team. Is no, we're four lines, we're three deep pairings. We're going to play everybody. We're going to balance the minutes, and we're going to wear teams down with attrition of just every line having ability to playing the system. But he's also right. Those top six guys were all playing very well. What's your thoughts about what the whole change in philosophy, maybe just for one game?
Well, when you look at the bottom two lines, there is something that stands out about those lines. But, well, what was Pete's quote a couple weeks ago?
Well, no, it was actually this morning, too. He doubled down on it.
You want to said it again?
I clipped something today, and I want you to hear. Somebody from the New York media asked about Artu Huru after two games, and it's a very short clip, but I think it captures what you're going for here.
He's a big, strong man. You see him off the ice. He's a big, heavy guy. We don't have a lot of size and heaviness in the bottom of our lineup. And he's brought some of that, which has been good.
Well, there you go. Because it was a couple weeks ago, he had said that he didn't think that they were big enough on the walls to get to where they want to go.
It was literally last week when we played the clip about what are some things going into 2025 that you want to improve on, and he talked about it was wall play.
So this is 3 times now. So the head coach is saying, I want to be bigger on the walls. And when you look at the bottom two lines, and, Huru's playing in the middle, first off, right now. He's not playing on the walls. Well, you look on the walls, Logan, Blackwell, Beck is 6'3".
Yep. He's
Steele,
a big guy.
Steele's 6'1", 6. But, okay. I know. I'm just saying what they're listed.
That's not right.
Saying what they're listed.
But he plays, Steele's a very good player, obviously.
But
he's not 6'3".
You don't have punishing guys on the walls. And what Pete's been talking about is the end of the year and game 83 and forward. To be able to go through the playoffs, you need guys on the walls, and you need to win 50-50 battles. And I think that's where this is all going. It's kind of what he's saying. So there's some more battle levels that need to be done. And the other side of things for me is when you look at the top two lines, they are possession guys. They have speed. I think that they exit their zone with speed, and I think they back people off from the red line into the defensive zone for other teams. And I think you think of it that way. If you're going to get down in games, you're going to say, we'd rather spend more time at that end of the rink than in our own. And so I trust our top two guys, our top two lines, and if they can play with speed and they know that it's going to be hard to stand up on these guys and take offensive chances trying to climb back into the game, if they're down a goal or so, because they know that all of a sudden they can be down 2 goals if you take a chance against one of these top two teams. I think it comes into trust. I think it comes in a little bit of speed and size. But I think on the other side of things, I think it's the lack of that. And again, Bork and guys like that, they've got to win some more battles and earn their stripes to be out there and now we're getting to the halfway point. And Pete DeBoer is getting to understand who his team is. And he is, again, I've said this before. I know that him and Jim talk all the time. But I think he's trying to send a message also that if there's something out there that we can shore up and get heavier and be harder to play against and win more 50-50 battles in both ends of the rink, we're going to be better off and have a better opportunity come playoff time.
Well, you prepared something for our viewers tonight, and I think we should show this comparison about the relative size, height, and weight of this Dallas Stars roster currently.
The one thing, if you're looking at this, it's not a big. I mean, when you look from top to bottom, it's not like we're talking giants against little people. That's
right.
Not what this is.
You're saying that the
height and weight,
the various spread isn't that big.
It's not. I mean, you can see that they're 12th. They're in the bottom 12, I think it is, when it comes to height, and they're like 24th when it comes to the weight. So yeah, they're smaller, but the weight is 210, I believe it is, on the top. And it's 198 on the bottom.
Yep.
So, Dallas is a little bit below that.
And they can change that if they call Liam Bissell up.
Yeah, sure.
It changes all their numbers.
Yeah, it does. But that's just another young guy that you're inserting in the lineup that maybe hasn't earned the trust yet, where you're going to run down deep into the playoffs with that guy. So anyway, I just think this is what you're trying to do, is you're trying to get a big, heavy, strong team that is difficult to play against, especially in the walls, in the offensive zone, the defensive zone. Because again, if you can't get pucks out of your own zone, you're just spending a little bit more time in your zone, which obviously leads to more scoring chances.
Let's talk about the New York Rangers for a minute. A couple of things. First and foremost, lineup news. They placed Chris Kreider on injured reserve today, retroactive to Sunday. It's Tuesday. They had some juggling going on because yesterday the Rangers claimed forward Arthur Kaliev from the LA Kings. Kaliev has always been good against the Stars, not always as consistent as the Kings would have liked with, on a regular basis, but he always seemed to play well against Dallas. So you see him play against the Stars and you go, I pretty like this guy as a bottom 6 forward. But the Rangers claimed him. They sent Matt Rempe down to the AHL yesterday to make roster room for the Kaliev waiver claim. And then today, after they placed Kreider on IR, apparently he's been dealing with some back issues for a little while here. And remember, not long ago, Luds, with all the drama that's going on with the Rangers, they said he was healthy scratch. They made a big point to say that, and that seems to be a little fishy.
It was I don't know if they were just trying to send another flare up or something like that. I don't understand what their GM Drew's doing. He is sending mixed messages, but to me, that if you're not injured and you're the healthy scratch, that's one thing. If you're injured and you're calling it a healthy scratch, that's more of a statement. That's
drama,
more of a blow to
isn't
the
it?
player. It's distraction.
Yeah.
I mean, this team has been that all year long. So I don't know. I don't know, but they've got something going on there. But again, at some point they're going to rally around all this stuff. They're just too good of a team. And Shesterkin's still on the shelf too, though. So
he is,
and he's been a guy that at least early in the year, even when they were winning games early in the year, he was a big part of why they were winning games. There was a lot of stuff going on in their own zone.
Well, interestingly enough, Rempe was recalled today. You can send a player that's been suspended by the NHL down, and he can play immediately as long as he's eligible to play in the AHL. If he had an AHL suspension, then he wouldn't. But that pauses the NHL suspension. So there was talk of, is that going to extend? But because they recalled him today, after they put Kreider on IR, that means that this will be his 8th and final game of his suspension for boarding and elbowing Miro Heiskanen a couple weeks ago in Dallas when they played in mid to late December. So that being said, Rempe could be eligible to play Thursday when they host the New Jersey Devils. but they also could maybe put Kaliev in the lineup, who was at morning skate today, but he will not play, partly because the Rangers won a hockey game on Sunday, and they want to, Peter Laviolette said, we're going to stick with the group. They won 6-2 over the Blackhawks. Let's face it, a lot of people are beating the Blackhawks right now, but the Rangers desperately need it because guess what? They snapped a 4-game losing streak by going 2-1, and they are 3-8-0 in their last 11 games.
Yeah, and they're giving up less than 2 goals a game. I mean, their recipe seems to be like a lot of other teams that struggle is, to keep the goals against down. So, but they've got some guys that are just underperforming. I mean, Zibanejad, I think, had like 26 goals last year. He's only got 7 or 8 this year. Panarin's kind of in that neighborhood. But I think the big one in the back end has been Adam Fox. And, he had a good game last couple games. The 2 games that they won, he was a good player. But I mean, he's got 1 goal this year. Last year he had 17. So they're missing their 3 or 4 key guys that just aren't the same this year as they have been.
Well, with Kreider injured and Shesterkin on IR as well, here's what the Rangers lineup is going to look like tonight with Panarin in with Trocheck and Lafreniere. But that seems, Luds, very much top-heavy. I like Philip Hedl, although he's bumped to the third-line center right now. Brodzinski moves up to fill Kreider's role with Zibanejad and Riley Smith. And then you've got Will Cooley with Hedl and Berard. Berard, by the way, was the one that was involved in that really funny Dougie Hamilton embellishment hook and a dive. What do you think about this group of forwards? Remember, the Rangers are less than a year removed. Last year, they won the President's Trophy. This year, ever since mid-November, they have had the worst record in hockey. Last 22 games, they're 6-16-0. That's a .273 point percentage.
Panarin is still being a dominant player. Trocheck, Lafreniere, he had a good year last year goals-wise and things like that. When you say it's top-heavy, if you don't follow the Dallas Stars every day and you pop up their lineup, wouldn't you say the same thing about
right
their
now,
top 2 lines?
especially with Sagan and Marchment out of the lineup?
You would say the same thing.
Because if Dadonov is on your 3rd or 4th line and you see, look at the Stars lineup again, if you would. If you had to move Wyatt Johnston down for Sagan and then Marchment is there, and so maybe somebody goes on the right. Now Jamie Benn's on your 3rd. You're loaded.
I'm just saying, look at the bottom 6.
Right now,
what are you
you're
saying?
absolutely right.
Well,
which
we're all
is
talking about right now.
back to that, but that to your point, that's why Pete DeBoer went. Though his top 2 lines were going against Utah, and he kept trotting them out in the 3rd period. Think about this: the shifts in the 3rd. Huru and Bork had 1 each. Blackwell had 3. Stankoven had 5. Oscar Beck had 8, which means they liked the way he was playing. And of course, top guys. Robertson had 9, Ben had 9, Hintz had 10. Those were the guys that were playing.
John, put up the Rangers one more time. The difference is for me on the 3rd line, Cooley and Cheadle.
Mm-hmm.
Don't sleep on those 2 guys.
Yeah, no. I'm not saying that they're weak. I just think that,
but they can score goals.
They can, but they haven't been.
Well, they're gonna. I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
Cooley's gonna end up with 25 goals. Cheadle, I think, is probably Cheadle's been the one that's been scoring the goals for him lately. So I would just say if you're comparing the 2 lineups right now and you don't know much about either one of them, I'm just saying, you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys. I think when I look at their top 3 lines that I would consider, hey, these guys can score goals, right? Mm-hmm. So I think when you flip the Dallas Stars lineup up there, it's going to be about the same. I just think that I don't think right now we're not going to say Steele. We're not going to say Bork. Well, I mean, which one are we going to say on the bottom 6?
Yeah, no, None. You're right. No, and that's
but we know Stankoven's due.
That's why you can see the difference of the Stars missing Marchment, Sagan, Joe Pavelski. There's some holes there, and they will add to that. Marchment will get healthy. We hope sooner than later, but we'll see with this facial surgery. We don't know if it was a broken nose that required surgery or a facial injury. Orbital bone comes to mind.
I thought that from day.
As soon as he hit it. As soon as it happened. We didn't get any details, but we'll find out more. Speaking of goaltending, let's look at the Rangers' defense and goaltending, because guess who? We'll see Mr. USA himself, Jonathan Quick. Stars goalie Jake Oettinger said he believes that Jonathan Quick is the best American goalie of all time. Obviously a hero of his growing up, and for good reason. Quick has been phenomenal. This is his first time playing the Stars as a member of the Rangers. 35 career starts against Dallas, or appearances, starts and relief with the Kings. 1 game last year with the Vegas Golden Knights. Luds, they have some good players on the back end. Keandre Miller's back in the lineup. He was not available for that game in Dallas. But with Shesterkin out, as good as Jonathan Quick is, Shesterkin's been an absolute menace against the Stars. Last 2 games, 41 saves on 42 shots in New York in February of 2024, and then in December, 41 of 42 in Dallas to get those wins. They will not get Shesterkin tonight.
Good thing for Dallas. But I look at Lindgren and Fox. Miller has had a rough start to the season. He hasn't been the same guy, and there was a lot of contract talk and stuff like that going into the end of last season this summer. But I look at their back end, and I think that's where they can be exposed. When it comes to Quick, Jonathan Quick is a competitor. And I think
he's still very athletic at his advanced age for NHL players.
Shouldn't he be in the Hall of Fame conversation at some point?
I mean,
he's got a couple
Stanley Cups and played for the USA. How could he not be?
I mean, him and Joe Pavelski are going to the USA Hockey Hall of Fame.
Oh, unquestionably.
No doubt about it.
I think Jonathan Quick would be a Hockey Hall of Fame candidate.
I don't know what his wins are. You know, if he is getting close to 400 wins or 350 wins. I don't know where he's at.
He actually has a milestone tonight. You set me up beautifully because I believe I saw this, and I'm just going to verify it to make sure. But Quick has, in 794 career NHL games, 399
so
wins.
He's not knocking on the door.
One more win. It could be tonight. Stars hope not. It'll be number 400, a huge milestone.
Yeah, in the games that he's played, when Shesterkin's been, getting a rest now with the injury, but he has been great, especially early on. The starts that he got, he was great. So, again, I said this the other day, like everybody thinks that they're going to roll into New York because they've just been sucky for all season long.
Well,
with the
at least a month and a half.
Yeah, without the month and a half, I mean, everything's been, it's a tire fire, right? And so
and off the ice there.
Yes. I just think that I think they've hit the bottom, and I maybe they're going to start crawling out of it on their own with no help from upstairs or anything else. Because to me, wouldn't this have been the right time? Not the right time. I don't think there's any right time to fire a coach, but you would think that would have been the last step. And I think there's a reason they're not doing that. I think that he's coming back, and whatever it is, it may be ownership saying, man, there's a guy in between ownership and the head coach that's kind of created a lot of this.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because one of the things that's been underproducing lately that was a key part of their President's Trophy campaign last year is their power play, and their special teams lately, Luds, have been awful. They're 1 for 30. That's 3.3% in their last 11 games. Usually the Rangers power play with the likes of Trocheck, Zibanejad, Kreider have been really, really good. It hasn't been. And their penalty kill, which still ranks 4th in the league, but has been steadily dropping, is 16 for 24. That's 66.7% in their last 7 games. That is a far cry from the beginning of the season where they had one of the top-rated penalty kills in the league.
Well, maybe tonight the decider is goaltending and special teams.
And the Stars could do both of that. 2 things to hit you with. 1, Stars special teams. They now come into tonight, entering the day, number 1 in the NHL with an 85.4% penalty kill. Their home penalty kill rate ranks 1st in the league, 92.3%. But their road penalty kill is 17th at 78.4%. What gives?
I think that the main factor in this has been the goaltending for both of them. I think when DeSmith has been in there, he's been good on the PK. Jake obviously has been good on that. And Essa has a big part to that.
But why so much better at home than on the road? Is that just as the team plays?
Well, I think you're always good at home because it's the familiarity with your building and the boards and where pucks come off and, distances and things like that, even though all the rinks are pretty much the same. I just think you're so much of playing in your own zone, forget if it's man short, man advantage, whatever, is knowing where you are on the ice. And you don't look to see where the boards are. You have a feeling for where they are. It's where you're at all the time. So the nets and then how the nets come off. And the goaltenders, I would assume, feel the same way with the lighting and everything that's in their buildings that they're used to. So I think you're just more comfortable on your ice. And that's why, anytime you're on the road, you're hoping that your power play can do some damage because it kind of keeps the crowd quiet and things like that. And Dallas has such a great crowd here. Every time their PK goes out, you can feel the momentum picking up for the next line that comes.
Well, let's talk about the road for a minute because Dallas won their last 2 road games at Utah on December 23rd before the holiday Christmas break. Then coming out of it, they went to Chicago on the 29th and won 5-1 over a, let's just face it, a not very good Chicago team. It wasn't a great game, but they got the win 5-1. So this is the first of a 5-game road trip, first road game of the 2025 calendar year. And entering tonight's action, Luds, Dallas has played fewer road games, 16, than any team in the NHL. And they have, because of those 2 wins, clawed back to a 500 record on the road. They're going to start to catch up with the pack as far as number of games played on the road, especially this month, but they've got to find a way to stay at or above 500.
Somehow you got to dial into last year. You know, were they the best team on the road last year?
They had the best road record in the league last year.
And a lot of that has to do with the team. You know, I think it's the camaraderie of guys being on the road together and, you know, everybody going out to eat to dinner, or, you know, not everybody all the time, but having the bigger groups that go out to dinner and spend a lot of time. So, you know, and they've got some new guys this year, right? And so I think they're still growing through all that and getting everybody integrated into where they're supposed to be and things like that. So, but they do need to get their road record back to where they need to be because, and again, you want to start your road trip. I don't care if it's 3 games, 2 games, or 5 games. You really want to get that first one under your belt so you got something to look forward to.
I got to ask you one follow-up from earlier talking with Sam. Did you ever enjoy walking up that ramp to MSG? Was it the smell? Was it the steep incline leg workout before you played a hockey game?
All of the above. I mean, it was awful. I remember my first time. I thought it was, you know, like you know how the guys got to go on the ice first?
Oh, yeah.
When I remember getting off the bus my very first time in the Garden and going, and I'm looking around trying to find, and the guys weren't there. I think
this was with Montreal.
It was with Montreal, and I was probably sitting up near the front of the bus at the time. And I thought, this ain't right. There's something, here it is. Something's going to happen.
What's the catch?
It's just an awful walk. And then when you come into town when the circus has been there, it is you feel like you're sleeping with the elephants.
Yes.
It's awful in there. So, yeah, if you're not warmed up by the time you get out there for warm-ups, there's a problem.
Well, it's the beginning of a 5-game Eastern Conference road trip. They play all week long and into next week. And so the Stars obviously want to get off on the right foot because 2 points tonight starts the road trip off well. 2 points dropped, you know what happens. You start gripping the stick a little bit because you're trying to catch up those points. For Craig Ludwig and Sam Nestler at MSG, I'm Owen Newkirk, and of course our producer John Anderson. We will be back right after the game for our full post-game show. Don't forget to tune in, get your chats and super chats ready, and enjoy watching the Stars and Rangers on Victory Plus tonight.
I believe that they are going to crush these guys tonight.
We all silly like the mayor.